Hello, my quilting friends. Leah Day here with episode 44 of the podcast. And today I'm talking with my sister. We're going to kind of flip-flop our podcast this week because I chatted with Camille Gray, my sister, when I was on day 8 of my Whole30 diet. And then now today, I'm about halfway through, so it's about day 15. So first I want to share that interview with her, and you can kind of see how things were going then. And I asked her a lot of questions about the diet and kind of clarified a few things, and she really helped me out a lot. And then now I can share the update of what it's been like to be on this diet for about 15 days. So I hope you enjoyed this interview and getting to know my sister. Hello, my quilting friends. Leah Day here with Camille Gray, my sister. Welcome to the show, Camille.
Thank you for having me.
So, a little introduction. My sister is a registered nurse and working on her master's degree. She's also a wife and mother of 2, and she inspired me to go on the Whole30 diet. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's get started with that. Just how did you find out about Whole30 and what inspired you to go on this diet?
Well, I decided to get in shape after having my second child, my son. I was 35 years old, and I said to my husband, Eric, that at 35 and 2 kids, I was ready to stop trying so hard. And he was so supportive, and he said, whatever you want, you'll look pretty no matter what. And then our older sister friend decided she was going to have a beach birthday party for her daughter. So I had this big event looming on the horizon where I was going to have to wear a swimsuit. There was no way around it. I was going to have to wear a swimsuit. So it was either I was going to show up and I was going to jiggle and I was not going to care, or I was going to do something about that. So I decided on my own and not telling anybody that I was going to start working out. So after I took my daughter to school, I had my son Harrison. I was here watching YouTube videos and exercising. And I was seeing a little bit of results and casually mentioned it to my husband. And he was so proud and so excited because he was feeling bad about the way he was looking as well. So then just kind of organically, we were looking up food and diets because he's all about the supplements. Oh, when he works out, he wants to take everything possible to get muscles. And it was just a random thing. I remember sitting on a couch one night and saying, hey, I've heard about this diet. It's all over Pinterest. It's called the Whole30. And he was like, okay, tell me more about it. And it's a hard diet. It was a hard sell. And eventually he was just like, okay, let's go for it.
Cool. That's excellent. Yeah. And I heard about it completely through you, that I had never heard of it. And the concept of it is really pretty simple. You want to just break it down in the simplest terms possible?
I call it the no diet because it's no for everything. No sugar, which is the big one. No real or artificial sugar. No soy. No dairy. No grains. No legumes. No beans. No GMO, no alcohol. That's another big one for a lot of people. Like I said, it's the no diet. You can have meat, vegetables, and fruit.
Yep, that's pretty much it. And one thing that was unusual, you can have white potatoes on this diet, right?
Yes, they recently added that back in because originally it was no white potatoes, but sweet potatoes. You could have those. They did add it back in. Since you can't have the butter, the cheese, and all the bad stuff that goes on the potatoes, they're actually kind of healthy. Yeah. And you probably shouldn't eat them every day.
Yeah, but does that include, French fries and potato chips?
Well, yes, it does. But you have to cook them healthy. You're not using the canola oil. That's another one. You can't use the bad fat. So we use avocado oil, and we limit our olive oil.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, tell me, okay, so I am right now on about a week and a day, so about 8 days into the diet, and I have had all manner of strange symptoms going on from not eating sugar for 8 days. And just tell me, how long can I expect the mood swings to continue to last? Because I think I'm about ready to kill somebody.
It's normally the first week. you're doing something very different from your body, and people don't realize that all those additives they put in food, they're addictive. Your body is noticing the change. It's noticing that it's not getting what it used to get. And I see about a week to 2 weeks, and then you start feeling amazing. Your energy goes through the roof. You see the difference in your body. If you're not necessarily seeing it, you're feeling it. Like I would wake up and I know you're not supposed to get on the scale, but I got on the scale. And I wouldn't see a weight difference on the scale, but I would feel the difference in my body. I would feel like things fit better. And, I didn't have that bra bulge over here.
Yeah, yeah. And I like what you said about not being jiggly. Like, that's actually my goal. Like, get into a swimsuit and have my belly not be jiggly. And, maybe my thighs would be nice too. Just like, stop the jiggle, be toned. Because honestly, that was when, at that party, we got out on the beach and I was like, dang, she's really, like, you are looking better than you did in high school. We were all skinny in high school, but, fit and toned and just amazing. And that's when I was kind of like, I'm 2 years younger than you. I need to do something about this. So that's really what got me started thinking about it and stuff too. And you're working out as well. You started doing like 10-minute workouts and stuff on YouTube. Tell me about those.
Well, I love the Rebecca Louise, the model pilot. I don't know why I like her videos so much, but most of them are 10 or 15 minutes. I do a kickboxing warm-up. I always do an ab. I know I should skip abs, but it's my one area that I focus the most on. 10-minute abs. She has a ton of those videos, and then I focus on one other body part, whether it's my arms, my legs, my butt, and then I do a stretch video. I have this one stretch video that I love. She doesn't talk, and it's a terrible background, but it's a full body stretch. And that's it. So from start to beginning, it's normally about 45 minutes. So it's not taking up too much of my time.
So, but you didn't start out doing a full 45 minutes. Like that would, I've been trying just her 10-minute ones right now, and they're still beating me.
Yeah, even though you're not doing much, you're just doing it in your house, it's a lot. She really does a good focus workout. So I built up to the 45 minutes, definitely. When I first started, it was just 10 minutes, and then I was a sweat puddle on the floor.
Yeah, I did, abs and glutes. I'll make sure to link this one up in the show notes. Let's just warn everybody ahead of time, if you try this one and you're completely out of shape like I am right now, you might end up not being able to walk afterwards. I went all noodly, and I had to kind of hold on to the wall to get back upstairs. It was a mess. And then now I've been sore for 2 days, but I'm still trying to stick with it and, at least do the 10 minutes and then try and aim maybe next week I'll go up to 30 minutes to 2 videos. But I think that's a really good place to start. When did you really start to see a change in your abs, in your stomach? Because I'm still feeling really jiggly, and that's really disheartening right now. But it's only been 8 days, so.
Yeah, 8 days is not a lot. You got to keep at it. I think that I started working out a month before I started the diet, so I was already seeing some improvement. I did the diet, and then by the end of May, so it was probably 2 months. 2 months of 1 month of the diet and 2 months of working out. We had the party, and I was looking pretty good. And then I kept it up all summer. So I don't think I have a picture of me in the swimsuit at that party, but I have a picture of me at the end of summer. And even I have to say, I look pretty good.
You look
I'm pretty
awesome.
proud of it. It's on the refrigerator.
You look pretty awesome, yes. And you're holding your baby that was not even a year old. So it's it was throwdown. I'm going to show it off. I think that's wonderful. I really do. And that honestly, you inspired me to say, I really want a body like that. I really want a hot body. And I've never wanted that before. I never thought I could get that. So I think that's really awesome. And thank you, because honestly, I probably would never have really started working on this if you hadn't started. So I found that really inspiring. So let's talk about the diet and how you work that in with your family, because you also have kids and life and work and everything else. And this is a tough diet because you got to cook a lot. So how'd you manage that?
It is a lot of pre-planning. A lot. You have to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner and all your snacks planned out. You can't leave the house hungry because there's no fast food restaurant that's going to participate in this diet. So it is like a lot of planning. And then having my husband as a partner to do it, I don't think I'd be able to look at him eating a cheeseburger and not punch him in the face if he wasn't doing the diet with me. And then my daughter, she says, "Are we still eating healthy?" She's slower to come around. We let her have, of course, sandwiches because they are so much easier for kids. But for the most part, she does eat what we eat, and as long as we know that it tastes good, we make her suck it up and eat as well. Harrison, the little one, it's, he's still a baby. We'll give him whatever he wants. As long as he eats, we're happy. I would say we've come up with a lot of recipes. Pinterest is great. There's a lot of great blogs. There's a lot of recipes out there. I just recently got a Instapot, and that's huge difference in just time that you spend doing all these meals. And then this one thing we found out is you have to like coconut. If you don't like coconut, you can't do this diet because it is coconut everything. Our creamer is coconut cream. We use coconut oil. We eat coconut chips as a little snack. It's pretty much coconut everything.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge coconut fan, so I'm kind of leaning more towards dates. Kind of dates are my snack. Dates and pecans are kind of what I'm falling back on a whole lot. And I'm trying to cut back on the cream, whole milk and stuff like that. I know dairy is illegal, but that is the one tiny itsy bitsy thing that I am cheating on. I will be honest. Instead, I can't have black coffee. I just can't do it. And I can't do the coconut creamer either. It's just so nasty. So I am cheating in one small, tiny little way, and I am admitting it here. I am putting heavy whipping cream in my coffee because I figure that is better than half and half. Yeah. Well, we all have to make it work. And I am doing a lot less. It's no longer like, milk with a whole bunch of coffee in it. It is now coffee with one spoonful of heavy whipping cream. So I feel like I'm doing a lot better than I used to be. And I also kind of rationalize, like, if I'm cutting out sugar, and I have been a sugar fiend and addict for years and years and years, I don't think one spoonful of cream is really gonna ruin the diet for me. Is there anything like that for you that you were like, okay, I'm gonna have to make a cheat on that one thing?
Honey. We figure it's natural. We get it from a local farm. We really love honey. So that was my one thing. And then I do sometimes occasionally cheat and have a little bit of tequila because I think tequila is almost a health food. And I drink it with like the real cranberry juice, the not diluted, not sugar, like the legit, very sour cranberry juice and water. And so I cheat sometimes with that. Those are my two that I just can't give up.
Yeah, that sounds like a stomachache to me, so I'm not envious of the tequila cranberry juice thing at all, but I feel comforted. I feel like I can cheat on my coffee just a little bit every day, and I'll be okay. But I'm not putting sugar in it, which is huge, because before it was like 2 teaspoons of sugar going in my coffee every morning. That's a lot of sugar, especially when I'd have like 2 or 3 cups a day. It adds up really quickly. So your daughter, she's kind of like, oh, is it still healthy? I have not been pushing James to get on the diet. I've been kind of saying, yeah, you can have pizza, and I'm sitting in front of Josh and James while they eat stuff that's not Whole30. It's tough.
That's tough.
Yeah. So how do you deal with it when you're out, like, with your friends and, going out to dinner with girls and stuff and hanging out? Is it just kind of grin and bear it?
It is. I try not to just sit there and go, oh, I can't have that. Oh, I can't have that, because that's not fun for anybody. But there is, if you go to a Mexican restaurant, fajitas. You just don't get the cheese, then you don't get the tortilla, and you try to stay away from the sour cream. And same way if you're going Asian, you can find meals without the rice and just the vegetables and the meat. So there's little cheats that you can do throughout. You just kind of have to pick the restaurant that's going to give you the most options. And I know that there's a lot of articles out there on what to eat at certain places. And then it is a lot of, sometimes you just have to say no, can't go out. There's a lot of breweries here in Charleston, and I gave up beer. And so I don't go out to those breweries. I just don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I completely understand. Yeah, the other day we went to a place for lunch that basically has like sandwiches and soups. You know, I was like, what do you eat when there's just sandwiches and soups? And so I said, okay, I want a hamburger, but hold the bun. And he gave me this really strange look. And I was like, yeah, and add bacon. I want extra bacon on that. So, do you really worry about being compliant when it comes to stuff like mayonnaise? I know it can get really nitpicky on like sugar in little tiny things like that. Or like, if potentially that restaurant puts sugar in that hamburger, do you worry about stuff like that?
Well, after the first 30 days, when we decided to keep doing it, I quit worrying so much. And once it went on to 90 days, I worried a whole lot less. Because at that point, I didn't think I was going to get any skinnier or be any healthier. So I tried the compliant mayonnaise, and it's not Duke's mayonnaise. It's just not. So when I have to have mayonnaise, I do cheat. Duke's is best. I don't stress too much about the sugar that they might put in a food, and I just try to get it without the bread. Like I've ordered the bunless burgers quite a bit. Normally I don't get any weird looks. We actually made hamburger salad here, and it turns out great. So it depends on where you're at on the diet. For the first whole 30, like the 30-day challenge, I would say be strict with that. But then if you're going to integrate it throughout your whole life, you can't live that strictly. It's almost impossible, and then you'll give up totally. So, like I said, I just stopped being as strict, and it made life a lot better.
Yeah, but then you've maintained your weight throughout. Like, you haven't gotten jiggly again.
No. I see difference. We let completely go November and December, and just with the stress of the holidays, I stopped working out. So I definitely am playing catch up now. We're doing a lot stricter diet. I'm doing the workout. Well, I was doing the workout almost every day. The illness hit our family pretty hard this week, so we'll get back to that in another week or so. And then just trying to ease back into it all. But at the holidays, I was like, I'm a size 0 now. If I want this cheesecake, I'm going to eat this cheesecake. Nobody said a word.
Yeah, size 0, hello. You can pretty much choose to eat anything once. That's the thing. Cutting off the sugar for me, I cut off alcohol, and it's cold turkey and just cut it out of my life. We have a divorce now. We're not going back. And I think sugar's going to be that way for me too. So, if I continue with it as in, no longer a diet, more of a lifestyle change, then I'll have to kind of figure that out as I go. So, one thing that I think might be helpful would be just talk through like your day and, starting with breakfast and also packing your bag to go to work and snacks and all that kind of good stuff. Just kind of talk through your planning ahead that goes into this diet.
Well, we now have it pretty down pat on what we like to eat. I don't have a lot of time in the morning. I'm not a morning person, so I'm not going to get up and cook breakfast. It's just not happening. So in the morning, I have a Laura bar, and I have my coffee, and I take my daughter to school, and then I always carry trail mix with me. Because we have nut allergies, we don't have a bunch of nuts in the house, but we can keep macadamia nuts and almonds. So I make a trail mix of macadamia nuts, almonds, and raisins. I always have a baggie of that with me. I carry it with me everywhere. So if I do get hungry, I won't stop fast food. And then I come home, I have apples with almond butter, and that's my snack. Lunch, it's normally breakfast, because by lunchtime, I'm more awake, and my Harrison, my little son, he loves eggs. So it's scrambled eggs, compliant bacon and sausage, which is very hard to find. We have local places here, and then there's ones you can order online. That works out really well. And then for dinner, it's always a plan. We normally always have leftovers, but we try to cook enough for leftovers so my husband can take it to work, because he has obviously less time at home than I have. And we just try to do different meals. We try to have what we call cheat days, where we make something that would have been really unhealthy, like pizza, but we make it Whole30 compliant. So we've actually come up with quite a few that we like. It's not always the same, but we have a pizza recipe. We have the hamburger salad. We have a hibachi cheat, and they're all Whole30 compliant, but we feel like we're eating out.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I've been eating, last year I went gluten-free, and I found a cauliflower pizza crust. It is not the same for James at all. He does not consider cauliflower pizza crust a suitable alternative to gluten pizza crust. So I sometimes all right, I will order you a real pizza while I sit here and rice cauliflower for myself.
I actually found rice cauliflower in the grocery store now.
Yeah. Yeah, so riced cauliflower, just in case somebody isn't aware of it, it is basically cauliflower that has been washed and parboiled and then processed, sliced really, really tiny into tiny pieces like the consistency of rice. And you can use it as a rice alternative. You can also add a lot of eggs to it, and then it will bake into kind of a flat sheet like a pizza crust. And, if you squint really hard and give yourself force to misha, it kind of tastes like pizza crust.
We found coconut flour and almond flour, I think tapioca flour recipe. So it is more like a tortilla.
Okay.
And we like that. We can't necessarily do the cauliflower pizza crust either. It's not my fave.
Yeah. What do you do about cheese? What's your alternative to cheese?
We just put a lot of meat on it. And then I have made cashew cheese. I know I told you that, and I can just hear the disgust in your voice and me going, it's not that bad. But cashew cheese, it really isn't that bad. You take raw cashews and you soak them, and then you grind them up really, really, really fine. And you add some instant yeast or some, I have to look at the exact yeast, but you get it at Earth Fare. And it's not that bad. I'm sorry, that's not the best endorsement of it.
It's really not bad. It's really not that bad. That really isn't a great hey, go eat this.
It has a cheese-like flavor consistency,
while also being slightly nutty.
If you had to have something white on your pizza, it would take that place.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't do that, and we just do a lot of meat. We do the bacon, the sausage, and then the Whole30 compliant pepperoni in the pizza sauce, and that's good. It's a cheat in our mind.
Yeah,
they're not in reality. So
it's a cheat in your mind, not reality. I like that. I think that works really well. So how do you think it would be different for you? This is my experience. I am doing this pretty much by myself. Josh doesn't want to go on this diet. And so he's not having it. So what would be your advice for me as far as sticking with it and continuing on, even if my family is not on it with me?
Well, my first question would be, are you cooking them dinner?
No, actually we're able to split it pretty well. When Josh wants to eat something that's, like red beans and rice, he loves to make red beans and rice. I'm like, okay, go on ahead and make it. Make a big pot of red beans and rice. I'm going to go have the steak while you make that. Yeah, so I give myself something that I really enjoy while he eats something he really enjoys. And so I think that's perfectly fine. And then he has lots of leftovers and stuff. So that's, several days taken care of. And I've made it very clear, you guys don't have to be on this diet. And I have to reiterate that over and over again because Josh was raised vegan. And so he has issues with being on a restricted diet. So I have to be really clear, I don't expect you to join me on this, while also being okay watching him eat stuff that's not. And kind of the way that I'm dealing with that is I keep the end goal in mind. I keep thinking about that awesome bikini body that I really want to have. And that really helps.
I would say I wouldn't be able to cook a meal that I couldn't eat. So that would be my advice. If they're not doing it with you, let them cook and eat what they want, and you cook and eat what you want. That would be the easiest way for me to handle that. And then I do have pictures of me and actually Lady Gaga taped around my kitchen, because Lady Gaga and me are the same size. We're 5'2", and so to me that's an attainable goal. I'm not gonna be like Giselle. I'm not gonna be more than 5'2". So I have pictures of me in my bikini and Lady Gaga in her outfits, and I go, oh, okay, I'm not going to go raid the cabinet and eat those Cheez-Its because this pretty picture is right here. And that helps. That helps a lot.
Certainly. Yeah, that same kind of imagery. I'm just like, Mary looks so much better than me on that beach. And I was like, go get my wrap. I'm going to go cover up my belly. And
the thing is, I was so nervous because I hadn't been in a bikini and been in public in so long, and there I was with my baby, and I felt so uncomfortable, and I felt like, because I was breastfeeding, my boobs are out to here, that at any minute anything was just going to pop off me. And I was not comfortable at all, and I kept putting my wrap back on.
Yeah.
So there's the pictures of me.
There is a picture of me and Mary and our oldest sister friend, and we had all put our wraps on, and Josh snapped this picture, and then he was like, okay, now a bikini shot, and we were all like, nope, not happening.
Nope.
So I'll make sure to include that photo in the video so you guys can see it. So, yeah, I have found that when you get hungry, like, it's desperation level. There is nothing I can do except for go and cook and eat something. Like, you know, yesterday I got really hungry. I felt like hungry pretty much all day, even though I ate and ate and ate. And I think that was just more transition into the diet and stuff. But Josh came up and was asking me some question about the business, and I was just like, I'm sorry, I cannot stop cooking right now. I have got to eat something right this second. So, do you think that will kind of slowly balance out as I get more into this? Will that, you know, intense hunger that I'm feeling kind of go away? What's your advice on that?
I think so. It definitely went away for me. I think I started this diet while I was breastfeeding, so I was very hungry all the time. And it did go away, leveled out, and I didn't think about it. Drink lots of water. That's always a good one, and I always have the snacks. Almond butter is great. Apples are great. Fruit is great because you want that kind of treat, and fruit will give you that sweet fix. And then carrots, you know, just snack on those. They're quick and easy. Trail mix. Have the little snacks ready to grab, and that way you don't feel like you're in the kitchen cooking all the time. Yeah.
Yesterday was just a really hard day, and you know, and I ate a lot, and I was sitting here going, I should not still be hungry. And I just think it was just one of those transition days. It was just an empty day. Like, I was a bottomless pit. But today I woke up and I feel fine, and had some pecans, you know, had a Lara bar, and I'm feeling A-okay. So I think it's just that weird kind of fluctuation of blood sugar and stuff until I get leveled out. And I'm looking forward to that. That's like my eye on the prize, you know, maybe day 15 or so, I'll be feeling really nice and even. This time next week, by the time this goes live, I will be feeling great. You know, I think there's always that hopeful optimism of any lifestyle change of like, life will be better once this gets through, or once we get used to it. Do you find the same thing?
Yeah, we kept it up after the 30 days. We just added back in a few little cheats that we couldn't live without, and even those weren't every day. So it does. At day 30, we felt like, oh, I can't even believe it's been 30 days. Let's just keep going. And we didn't miss a whole lot. If our daughter hadn't been whining about pasta and bread as much as she did whine about it, we probably wouldn't have even had as many, you know, little cheats as we did have, and need to have those like fake cheat meals. So it does, I promise, it does get easier. Your body is just noticing that you're suddenly not eating all that sugar and all that carb, all that addictive stuff that it's so used to, and it's letting you know that it's noticing.
Yeah, definitely. And comfort, you know, I used I used to make that cup of coffee or make that cup of tea and add that sugar and add that cream and add all that stuff to it. And then it would be like, oh, I feel better. That comforted me. And then now that's gone. Did you find the same thing? And then what is your new comfort now?
I really like the working out. I like feeling sore. I like feeling tired. I like feeling like I accomplished something. I got the Fitbit so I could track it all and then brag to my husband Eric, like, ha ha ha, look what I did today. And then we would have like comfort things. We crack pistachios every night. We sit on the couch and crack pistachios, and so that's our little snack. We have guacamole and plantain chips and sit there and snack on that. I find now that when I eat something sweet, like with real sweetener in it, it's too sweet. I don't necessarily even like it that much anymore. Your taste buds change.
Yeah. I'm sitting here going, I am not going to get to a point where working out is comfort for me. I hate being sore. The backs of my legs right now, like it's hard to stand up. And every time I do, I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't have to stand up. I did this workout. I gotta say, this workout was just killer.
I know the one you're talking about, and I really like that one.
Oh my gosh. Well, I will get there eventually. I know I will get there eventually. But it is a work in progress. Maybe in about 6 months or so, we'll check in again, and I'll have more questions for you. But I think this was really great. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing about the Whole30 diet and the real life, the real side of being on that.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
So I hope that you enjoyed that interview with my sister Camille. It was really fun recording that with her because, it's nice to share my family with you and so you can get to know them. And then too, I found it just so inspiring that she was able to transform her body so radically and after having a baby. And I was really impressed that she stuck with it even after that summer. She looks great. And she obviously is very healthy now, which is great too. So a little update now on my diet. Now, I did want to specify, I'm not getting paid by Whole30 or anything like that. I'm just simply trying to share my experience. This is something that I found really interesting and it's really rocking my world and I try and share that with you. Just like two friends would share something that they found interesting with one another. That's really where this is coming from. So this is not in any way some kind of sponsor of Whole30. In fact, actually, now that I've kind of gotten to know the diet just a little bit better, there's a few things that I don't agree with. And I know after these first 30 days, some of it's going to go away. However, I'd say the number one thing that's been great has been controlling my sugar addiction. That has been huge. And that's been really, really good. Just like drinking alcohol, I have finally cut off sugar, refined sugar, cold turkey. And the longer that I stop eating sugar, the better I feel. And that's really, really fun. Now, I have to say, my second week, so it was like maybe a couple days after I was speaking to Camille, I really started to get the sugar cravings. And I really wasn't feeling all that great. I can't figure out whether I had a cold, like I got a little minor flu, or maybe it was the diet. I don't know. But for some reason, I just really felt sleepy and run down for a few days. I spent a lot of time sleeping. I really did. I took a lot of naps that week. And then I also really started craving sugar and that desire to have that comfort come back. And so she sent me a couple recipes that were a little bit of a Whole30 cheat. Only because one of them had maple syrup in it. That's it. Yeah, maple syrup in it. I did not add the maple syrup though, so technically I did not cheat. But this was a dessert that was sweet enough to be a straight up dessert. And it was carrot cake bites. So I will make sure to share this in the show notes so you can come and find it. I'll share a link. Excellent recipe. The base of it is basically carrots and nuts and spices. It's delicious, and you sweeten it with stick it all together with dates. So it does turn out quite sweet. And then the topping, which I was kind of like, I don't know if I even want to put that on there, but I'm really glad that I did, because it really adds a really nice kind of creamy top. And that's soaked cashews, which creates a really creamy texture when you grind them up. And then you add coconut milk and coconut cream to that. Now, that's where it was calling for some maple syrup, but I thought, hey, that's kind of sweet enough, just the dates in the base. So I did not add the maple syrup, and I'm really glad I didn't, because it was more than sweet enough. I made a mistake, though. I did eat that for breakfast one day, and it kind of messed me up the whole day. I just felt jittery. I felt the way I eat after I eat it, big dessert, basically. I felt jittery, my kind of hands were shaking a little bit, I felt like I just had a candy bar. And so it was kind of like, okay, Leah, even though this is just dates, you're still going to have to be careful with it. You're still going to have to, eat normal. Don't eat that for breakfast. You knew better. So I learned my lesson on that. But I did realize that I was probably a little bit of feeling bad, might have been a little bit of vitamin deficiency. So as soon as I ate a lot of the carrots as I was grinding them up for that recipe, and I suddenly started feeling a lot better. So now I've added in a lot of raw carrots. I've been, just kind of taking some carrots and grating them and having them in a little baggie ready to go so I can grab them. And that's been really good. And I've been craving crunchy stuff. And most things on Whole30, it's cooked meat and vegetable. Everything's kind of soft. And so I went to a Thai food restaurant yesterday, and I got a really basic kind of stir fry, and I didn't get any rice with it. And that was really nice and crunchy. I had some crunchy cabbage and crunchy bamboo shoots. It was really good. So I think that you can find that crunch just in different places. You just kind of have to look around. And the raw carrots really started making me feel a lot better. And it's kind of funny. I felt like each week I've kind of had a different focus. So the first week I was really focusing on eating a lot of meat, like that was kind of my, okay, I'm on Whole30, I'm going to eat a lot of meat, and that was just kind of my mentality that week. And then the next week it was, give me some sugar supplements. I'm really craving sugar. And that's when I made that dessert. It lasted for a few days, and surprisingly enough, Josh hates dates, and he ate one of those. He actually was like, wow, that's actually pretty good. So that's shocking. If somebody that hates dates so much that they would, be like, I'm going to throw up if I eat that, can eat it and enjoy it and think, wow, that's really good carrot cake. I think that's a really good recipe. So, yeah, so that was, last week was really heavy on the sugar thing. And then this week, I feel like my focus has really shifted to fruit. And so I've got strawberries for Valentine's Day, and I'm going to make some chocolate-covered strawberries, and I'm going to try and make them without sweetening the chocolate and just allow the natural sweetness of the strawberry to work. I don't know if that's going to work or not, honestly. I'm kind of crossing my fingers on it, but I don't know. I'll let you know next week, one way or the other, if I made horrible, tasteless, awful chocolate-covered strawberries. If I actually managed to ruin a chocolate-covered strawberry, that would be shocking. But yeah, I think it's important to at least try, and I do feel like my taste buds are changing to where an apple now feels really sweet. And I'm wondering if I ate, one of my favorite sugary desserts, if it would probably be cloying and overwhelming now. Because, if an apple is super, super sweet, I can only imagine what a Snickers bar is going to taste like. You know what I mean? So it's been interesting. Like I said, I did have a few bad days. Really, really felt cruddy. And I have had to slow down and take more time to myself. And I have had to take better care of myself. And this is something that I struggle with, and I'll be completely honest about it. I tend to go. And I work really hard every day. And, and I'll be honest, in years past, I've struggled with workaholism, where it's just, like no breaks, gotta do this, single-minded focus, can't turn it off. I have gotten a lot better in recent years than I used to be. There were a few years there where I don't even really remember what happened. because, and it's really makes me sad because James was really little then, but that's where I was at. And I needed money. I needed to pay my house bill, and that was the only way to do it, was just working all the time. And thankfully, I started to learn better ways of working and being more efficient and managing my time better. But even still, I've still tended towards those habits of working too hard and working myself till I was just absolutely exhausted. And this kind of tied into my food stuff, where I would work until I was totally exhausted, and then I kind of reward myself with coffee, a cup of coffee, and something sweet. And I would chain those two things together so that every time I had a sweet, I would put sugar in my coffee too, sweet cup of coffee, and then something sweet to go with it. And that would be kind of my boost to make me feel better after I've just totally worn myself out. So seeing the habit for what it is, and then now trying to not work so hard so I don't get to that state, so I don't feel like I need that, reward for all that, basically kind of killing my body, And honestly, my body just wouldn't put up with it this week. It was just like, no, you're not going to do that. My brain just was just turned off. It was just like, you need to stop. You need to go eat, like now. So I had to take more breaks. Had to take some naps, which is something I don't usually do. And then something my optometrist told me to do a lot, which I haven't been doing, has been to lay down and put a warm wet washcloth, like a hot wet washcloth, over my eyes, that it would help. I tend to have really, really dry eyes. And I love doing that. It's like total self-care. I love doing that. It makes me feel amazing. I feel totally relaxed after laying down with a washcloth. I mean, it's like the simplest thing in the world. Really, Leah, you can't do that for yourself. But I struggle to do it because it's like go, go, go all the time. Well, this week I did that every day. It was just like, I was craving that comfort that I would normally get from food, and I had to find another way of doing it. I had to find another way that would make me feel good. And so I, take the time to get a warm wet washcloth and go lay down on the couch for a little while. And the nice thing is that the washcloth gets cold within about 10 minutes or so. So I couldn't actually fall asleep and take a nap, which would probably have made me feel cruddy later. But, it definitely helped me relax and kind of turn off the constant working habit. And then also, I didn't need to get up and go get a cup of coffee then. I could just have a glass of water and still feel great. So it's definitely been a process. And there have been a few days where I've just not been in the best mood, and I've just had to come out to the crafty cottage and be like, just don't talk to me. I'm not the nicest person right now, and you really don't want to be around me. And that's okay too. It's just, being able to admit that and kind of give myself a break. And that's been good. So, that's how Whole30 is going for me. A few people have written in to say that, I've inspired them, and I love that. That's really, really great. I think that diet coupled with attitude really is a big deal. The more I dig into this and the longer that I go without sugar, the more I realize how much that was affecting my mental state, how much that was affecting my emotions, and then of course that was affecting my attitude. So if I was feeling jittery and crazy and on edge, then that was going straight into, work and, oh my gosh, I'm so anxious and how am I going to get all this stuff done? And it was kind of, everything was kind of cycling around and around and around, just creating even more anxiety. So it really does feel like I've kind of taken a step back and gotten a lot better focus on what I'm doing, and then also been able to plan better for the future. And this has also kind of forced me to admit that I've been putting a lot of things off and leaving a lot of things unfinished. That I think that go, go, go tendency that I have leads me to start more than I finish, and to keep that kind of ramped up energy all the time. And it takes more time to finish something. It takes more time to, really finish all the threads. And that's why it feels so good to be stitching on this. What I'm stitching on today, I'm finishing up and putting the little name tag, my little quilt tag, on the back of the Love the Light whole cloth. So that's what I'm working on today as I'm talking with you. And so I am finishing something that once I tie off this thread tail, this quilt will be done, and it will be one less thing kind of piled up, you know, that's in my way, that's, you know, a constant sore tooth that's like, you know, you need to finish this. And I've been thinking about that a lot, just all the things that I'm leaving unfinished that continue to stress me out day after day after day. And then it has also forced me to admit that I have taken on just a little bit too much in general this year. And I'm going to have to make some adjustments to the machine quilting party. So just to update you on what's been happening, we have just this week finished up quilting the Rainbow Log Cabin quilt. So we finished up the last video on quilting to the corners in that project. It looks amazing, and I love seeing all the different versions that are posted to the Facebook group. So many people were like, I can't do this on a home machine, it's too big, and I'm seeing beautiful quilts. So I really think that this is absolutely doable on a home sewing machine, and they look amazing. So that's that quilt done. We're still working on Marvelous Mosaic, and we were supposed to be starting a new quilt, Prism Path, in 2 weeks. And I'll be completely honest, that's just not going to work. I need to shoot the videos and get them edited. And then too, I also need time to be writing and working on lots of other things. And then I've just been feeling really, really overwhelmed by how many videos I'm coming out with lately. I did not realize when I was writing the schedule for this year that I had gone from sharing 2 videos per month on the machine quilting party. You know, it used to be the block party. We would share a block every month. Now it's the machine quilting party where we're doing a whole quilt. So I went from 2 videos per month to 2 videos per week. And I didn't really do the math on that. And it's not necessarily the videos. It's the photos, and it's the writing, it's the posting, and it's the everything that goes along with that. And it's all of it takes a lot of time. And, you know, part of last week of kind of hitting that sugar wall, that's what I think of it, like that sugar wall, it was admitting that I've just taken on too much and I need to back off. So I'm not sure now. We're going to probably push back Prism Path at least a month, maybe 2. And I'm going to think about that and work on the videos a little bit this week and make a decision on that and have something updated on that probably next Monday. So, you know, it's one of those things. I think things just need to adjust, and I'm being very honest and saying, if I continue on this schedule, I'm going to burn out, and it's just too much. You know, and it's also, the machine quilting party is not all that I'm doing. You know, I love this podcast, and I don't want to short the podcast. I've had to miss a few weeks here and there because I just had so many other posts, and, you know, that, you know, Quilty Box came out, and I did a collaboration, and these things are great. I want to do more of them, but it just sometimes feels like there's just too much, and something has to give. And twice now the podcast is what ended up kind of being put on a back burner, but I love the interaction I get on the podcast. I love sharing this stuff with you, and I don't want to do that. So I realize that it's okay to take that time, and it's okay to back off a little bit. And hey, you know, we'll have a fun quilt to make together in a few months, and that'll be great too. And while we're doing that, learn more about walking fit quilting, continue working on Marvelous Mosaic, continue knocking out those squares. And I think that will be just fine. That'll be fun. I have a hard time, I will be completely honest, I have a really hard time changing a plan and changing the schedule and adjusting things that I feel like it's set in stone and I made a decision and I can't change it. And I have to continually remind myself that I'm the business owner and I do run the ship, and when I need it to be different, then I can make that call, and I can change the plan, and it's okay. It's not the end of the world. I might make 1 or 2 people mad at me, and I'm sorry, but I am a human too. And I think we all can get that because we're all women, or there's some guys that watch too, sorry, but we're all people that are just trying to fit this in the best way we can, you know? So that feels good. That feels really, really good. And that's going to give me time to focus on more things and on also take care of myself better, which is good. So the reason why I feel like that needs to push back, another reason why, is because I have lots of things that are right in that finishing stage that are going to take a little bit of time and energy and brain power for me to finish. And it's kind of like I've been afraid of finishing them. So the first thing is Dream Goddess. This is a goddess quilt, and I honestly don't remember when I started it. I'm thinking it was 2014, because I seem to remember that it was one of the first things Dad and I did together was dye these fabrics that we used in this quilt. So it was in kind of my hand dyeing stage. And I was dyeing fabrics a whole lot, and I had Dad help me rinse out the fabrics that we were making for this quilt. So yeah, I think that we were putting it together in 2014, and then now here it is 2018, and there are maybe 4 days worth of quilting on this quilt. I mean, very, very, very little. And the reason why I've been stalling out on it is because I knew I wanted to do a different type of binding on the edges. I don't want to do a traditional binding that you stitch it on and turn it over and it kind of adds like a little extra frame to the quilt. I want to do a faced binding where basically the edge of the quilt is kind of turned over and secured, so you get a really nice edge without any extra fabric being added to the front. And I've not done this very much. You know, I kind of stick with the same technique and I beat it to death, you know, and I don't really step outside my comfort zone that much. And it's been something that I need to be able to take more time on, honestly. And I need to stop just doing the same technique over and over again. I need to challenge that and try new things and learn new things and experiment. So I realized this week that I'd been putting off finishing the quilting on Dream Goddess because I knew right after finishing the quilting, I would need to figure out that binding. And she's big. This is not like a small, tiny quilt. She's probably 6 or 7 feet long and at least 40 inches wide. So this is not a tiny quilt to be messing around with. And if I mess it up, then I'm going to be losing edge. You know, if I have to cut it off and start again, then I'll be losing the edge off my quilt. So it's intimidating. It's scary. And so because of that, I've left my quilt unfinished now for more than 2 years. And it's only had this little bit, tiny bit of quilting left to be completed. So I know that that needs to be done. And I would really like to take the time to work on that this month. Another thing that has been in progress that I've been kind of hesitating, kind of tiptoeing around the ending is my fiction novel. So I haven't shared an update on this in a little while. I kind of just got a little stuck on it around Christmas. I just slowed down a lot. It was just so busy. And then I kept forgetting, honestly, to share an update about it in the intro. But basically, I've been writing a fiction novel since October last year. And it's about a little girl and a quilt, and the name kind of nearly settled on a title, but the title right now is Mally the Maker, the Witch Inside the Quilt. And yes, it's fantasy, it's fiction, it's adventure, it's all of the good stuff. And honestly, I'm so delighted with it. It's so exciting. Even today, I was working on a scene where it was like, how can I make this even more exciting and intense, and figured that out and, you know, added a little bit more to it, and that felt great. But I'm like 2 scenes away from finishing this book, and I'm not touching those scenes. I keep going back and editing and playing with it because I think I'm afraid if I get to the end, then I don't know what to do next. It's the same thing with Dream Goddess. You know, I don't know how I'm going to do that binding, and I think I'm hesitating to finish the book because then it will start a new stage. It will be editing, it will be designing the cover, it will be all of that ending stuff. And I don't know what that looks like. I've never done it before, and it's scary. So I really do want that finished up this month, and it's absolutely within my power to finish that up this month. Josh is really excited about editing it. He's really looking forward to that. And if you are interested, if you would like to be like an early reader of this book and give us some kind feedback, that would be wonderful. You can just send us an email, leahday.com/contact. please only offer if you really enjoy quilt fiction, like a kid's adventure novel. That's really what this is themed to be. But I would love some help just having more eyeballs on the book. I think the more readers we get early on, the better it will be. But yeah, I need to finish it first. So I need to, in addition to the diet, just kind of force myself to add the extra challenge of finishing these two things. I'm not sure that I would be able to finish Dream Goddess completely. Like maybe I could just say, okay, get the quilting done. Like just finish the quilting and leave it there. You know, at least the quilting is done and there's nothing unquilted on the surface. And I think that's a solid goal for February. And then with Mally, don't worry about the editing. That comes later. Don't worry about the proofreading. That comes later. Don't worry about any of that stuff. Just get those final scenes knocked out. And, you know, as I'm talking through this, I'm sharing it with you because I know that that helps push me in that direction that I need to go. And that's really, really helpful. So I think that those two things are going to be definitely, hopefully I'll be able to share an update next week that things are rocking and rolling and have definitely made a big change in, 7 days. I really hope so. So that's my aim. I have one more thing that I am pushing myself to kind of challenge my mental processes with and kind of just push myself into, a little bit kicking and screaming. And that is fabric design. So I've wanted to design fabrics, and I have dabbled with it a little bit. I'll be honest. I put up a few prints on Spoonflower. I've got a handful of stuff up there, but I have always known that this could be a really big thing for our business. Repeat patterns. It's just something that really works for my brain. I love textures. I love, all of the 300, actually nearly 500 designs that I've designed could be turned into fabrics too. But I've always hesitated. It's always been like, oh, I just still don't understand it. Or I don't have the computer graphic skills, the graphic design skills. Well, I've learned Illustrator now, so that's no longer an excuse. And then it's been, well, I make that fabric, but how many colors do I make it out of? So I'm finally saying enough is enough. It's time to stop questioning it. A lot of the inspiration for this came from Krista Watson. She was on the podcast a few weeks ago, and she said, look, if I can design fabric and she doesn't understand the graphic design side of it, she drew her designs out and sent them in, and Bernatex's, her fabric designer, her fabric manufacturer, really did a lot of the background work for her. And she was like, if she could do it, then anybody could do it. And that really was inspiring for me. So I started working on some design. So this is a goddess quilt that I actually designed. I sketched the design out many years ago. And so this week I finally sat down and finished it and drew it out where I could see this as a quilt panel. I could see this as a printed panel. And then from this, I'm going to design coordinating prints to go with it. And I want to share this process because I'm very much figuring this out as I go. I'm very much just trial and error and learning. I don't know how to do colors. I'm going to have to figure all that stuff out. But I'm really excited to try, and I'll never figure it out if I don't try it. If I continue to wait and wait and wait, then it'll never get done. And so maybe some of that finishing energy that I'm getting from finishing this book and finishing Dream Goddess can then carry over into starting energy to start this fabric design. So I have been sketching a lot, which I really love. I love to draw. And I've been trying to chain that, when I'm having a break, always have a piece of graph paper on the table and just spend a little time sketching and playing around with that. It's not hard to create continuous designs that continually repeat. It's just a matter of sketching it the right way. And it's kind of like I'm starting to develop some different ways of doing that where it won't be quite so time consuming. And then hopefully I'll develop even more methods once I actually get it into the computer and play there too. So that's been something that I've hesitated on. And I admit it's like been standing on the edge of the pool, like waiting to jump in because it's just so cold. I had that analogy this winter whenever I was sharing my beginning of the year and kind of taking on this word of the year challenge. I feel like I'm standing on the edge of the pool with so many things and kind of hesitating to jump in because I'm afraid the water will be cold or it'll be deep, and I got to get over it and just jump right in and let go of the stuff. And I've wanted to create more goddess quilts, and I have so many more designed. But I've reached a point where I can admit that I don't necessarily love applique, and I don't necessarily love piecing. I mean, I love it, but I don't. Some of my quilts are so complex. Creating those shapes in either applique or piecing is very challenging. It takes a lot of time and glue. and it's tedious unless I want to make the quilt massive to make, otherwise I'm just going to be dealing with itsy bitsy tiny little pieces. So it really would make more sense to just print it directly on fabric. If I've already got the design drawn, if I've already got it colored, if I already know what I want out of it, why not just print it directly on the fabric and skip that whole step? And in the back of my mind, I've thought of this many, many times, and it's always been, well, that's not good enough. That's been the voice in my head. That's not good enough. That's cheating more than anything else, because cheater cloth, that whole idea. And I've reached a point where it's like, well, even if I don't compete with that quilt, at least I'll have made it. At least I'll have shared that design. And the whole cheating thing would only really come into an effect if I competed with it, if I wanted to put that quilt in a show like AQS, where they don't allow cheater cloth fabrics. They don't allow that kind of thing. So I think this is still something that I need to address in my head a little bit. I need to still wrap my brain around it, but I also need to accept the fact that, the time I have on this earth is precious. I had a friend share something with me recently, and it really reminded me, it really brought home how short of a time that we have on this earth. And if we aren't using that time wisely, well, we could be caught with the things that we want done, not shared, not created. And then everybody loses, the chance of making something beautiful and making the world a more beautiful place. I think that's valuable. I think that's necessary. And I think it requires us getting over all of those little things that, stop us and hold us back. All of those limiting beliefs and ideas that are saying that's not good enough, that's cheating, that's not legitimate, all that kind of stuff. And ultimately, it'll get the quilt made. And I would love to see my goddess quilts in more places. I would love to see that as wallpaper. I would love to see that as gift wrap. There's that piece of me also that's like, I just love to see these designs shared more and showing up more places. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And I don't think that makes it somehow cheaper or, bad in any way. So that's really what I'm looking at. And it's a push, but it feels really, really good. And here I am tying off. I am getting ready to finish up this little quilt, and that feels great too. So there's the last little knot here, and I'm done putting on that name tag. And so that's another quilt finished, another project done, and I can take the energy from completing this and go put it into something else. So that feels great too. I've got Love the Light whole cloth finished up, and now it has a really nice hanging sleeve and a really nice name tag on the back. That feels great. So I hope that you have enjoyed this episode and hearing what is going on in my life and more about this crazy diet that I'm on and the changes that it's making, because it's so much more than just changing what I'm eating. It is changing my lifestyle. It really is in a big way. And I think all for the better. Dealing with my fabric addiction, that's another story. Dealing with my sugar addiction is forcing me to also deal with the way I work and what I take on. And then dealing with the way I work has also forced me to look at what I'm doing and what I'm making. And is this really meaningful? And is this what I want to be doing with my life? And I do think that it matters. I do think that we should be creating things that make the world a more beautiful place and sharing those things that have meaning and add value. I just want you to know that I really appreciate you listening or watching the podcast every week. It's really a wonderful way for me to share my life. And also, it really challenges me to do these things that I want to do and kind of get over my stuff, because once I feel like I share it with you, I kind of have to do it. And now I have to go work on Dream Goddess, and I have to go finish this book. And I hope that you're excited about seeing both of these once they're complete. So that's it for this episode. Next week, I'm going to be chatting with another quilting friend, Ann Holmes, about an awesome applique technique called no sewing until you quilt it. So definitely tune in for that episode. And remember that you can find all of our episodes that we've shared so far linked up at leahday.com/podcast. Now, this show would not exist without your support, so if you're needing any quilting tools or supplies, please come and find them at leahday.com/shop. We have just set up Razzle Dazzle threads. You can now pick it up in individual spools. So we've got sterling silver. This is kind of thicker thread for couching and for bobbin thread work. It really adds some bling to your quilts. So we've got sterling silver, gold nugget, and icicles. So 3 colors to choose from. I'm going to be shooting photos of these spools today. And then we also have water-soluble thread, and I'm just adding this week this huge 1,500 yard spool to the shop because this is excellent for basting your quilts, and you're going to need a lot of it. We also have a regular size 200 yard spool. So this is Vanish Extra Thread, and it does wash away completely in water. It's great for basting. It's essential for trapunto. That's a really awesome quilting technique. So if you're needing some thread, these are the new things that are coming into the quilt shop. You can come and check it out at leahday.com/shop. Until next time, let's go quilt.